Connect, always an exciting event, morning of inspiration and power networking. It's an amazing one this morning. We have over 1,300 attendees registered. Super excited about that. But tell us, please, before we start the program, why don't you tell us where you're from? It's always nice to see where everybody's from. And also importantly, if you've got any questions through the discussion I'm going to have just now with Elan Lea, who I'll introduce you in a few moments, please put them onto the chat. Tell us what your thoughts are, where you're from, keep the conversation going. And of course, as we know, for those who come back for the second, third, fourth, fifth, 30th time, welcome back. To all the new attendees this morning, welcome to the platform. Don't be alarmed. Of course, once our discussion is over, I'm going to ask Leanne to come on stage so we can give you some technical insights before we start power networking this morning in the virtual space. But so guys, it's going to be an awesome morning. We know that the topic is, you've seen it on the email, on the invites, etc. The 4 pillars of a thriving business. And the guest this morning is, of course, Elan Lea, an amazing guy. I had the privilege of meeting a short while back. Inspirational, hugely informative, and I know you're going to find this morning an incredible session. So, but before we ask Elan to come join me on stage, just importantly, you know, with technical, sometimes things can go wrong. If it does go wrong, fortunately, touch wood, to date, over the last 2.5 years, nothing has gone wrong, but it could happen. Always stay with us. We will be back. But I'm sure that this morning we're going to be fine. So, Elan, please join me on stage.
Morning, Mike.
Elan Lea, absolute privilege to have you on this morning. And you know, when I met with you not that long ago, a few weeks back, I was hugely inspired by not only you personally, but what you do, which we'll come to in a bit later. So, and also I want to thank you for accepting the invitation to join us on Breakfast Connect this morning. Is amazing, and I know that your insights are going to be hugely informative, educational, and inspirational. So, Elan, thank you very much. Tell us about Elan.
Mike, thanks. Just before we kick off, I just wanted to say, wow, I'm looking at up and all the messages. Unbelievable what you guys are doing. So just hats off to you guys for putting all of these awesome events together. And thanks everyone for attending. And here's to a good chat. So, Mike, okay, cool. A little bit of an introduction before we kick off. Actually, my background is completely different potentially to a lot of other people's backgrounds into business. My history, I used to be a musician. So I actually come from the music business, singer, songwriter, did it for a whole bunch, a long time, but eventually found my right path, which I'll talk about as well shortly, in business. Created a business called Big World Mobile not too long ago. We ran a fairly large debtors book that comprised of mobile phone customers, which we sold through a call center. We managed an end-to-end process for fairly large corporates in making sure that delivery and everything took place, and then obviously managing the debtors, which leads us to TechZoo Corporation, which is what we're onto today. And it brings about the current products, and that's a bit of a story about the business journey.
Yeah, Elan, absolutely. And I've compiled, I've got a lot of paperwork around me here this morning because I had spent some time putting some key questions I'd like to put forward to you this morning. But of course, once we've done with the Q&A, the engagement, I'm going to ask you before you leave us. I find it fascinating, Nagging Panda, and I'm going to ask you before you leave us, tell us a bit about that. But if you don't mind me, I'll leave that till the end.
100%, no problem.
This morning, what we're going to talk about, the 4 pillars of a thriving business: people, marketing, scale, and execution. So let me get to my first question, Elan. Now, let's start with pillar 1, people. You've got a favorite saying, business is done by people, not businesses. What do you mean and take from that specific saying?
Well, Mike, it's one of my favorite things, and something that I see more and more every day. And it's not always something that you see on a corporate scale. It's something that I actually see on a genuine day-to-day basis. And I want to kick off by just giving a little example. Last night we went for dinner. My wife and I with friends of ours. We went to a restaurant that they raved about. They said it's the best food you've ever had. And I tell you what, the food wasn't bad, but it wasn't the best food I've ever had. What it actually was the relationship between the business owner and the people in his surroundings that drew people into his restaurant. And they looked at it all and said, you know what, this relationship that I have with this guy is actually the driving factor. And I want to tell everybody about it. And because of that, they're creating a community inside of their area. They're just a local restaurant. It's not a chain. They're a local restaurant. The owner is a personable guy. He understands the value that he brings to his restaurant besides just the food. And it brings me to the first thing about why I say business is done by people, not businesses, is you've got to understand the importance of relationships. So you've got to think about in a business, and the way I see it is the way that I make a person feel has a very, very, very big impact on how they're going to respond to me and respond to my business. So let's take it to a big level. Let's look at a corporate level. If you're going into your networking store, let's say Vodacom or MTN or Telcom, whichever one it is, so now you're on a big scale. You walk in and the person that you deal with is rude to you. You don't want to work with them anymore because now they've made you feel like you're not valuable to them, that your relationship doesn't count as much as the next one. You don't want to be there. If you go, you could go further down into the restaurant example, or you could go into a money-making example. So if you work with another business, you've got some sort of a partnership agreement. If you don't get along with the people inside of that business, you've got no chance in continuing and being able to make money together, not on any long-term basis. So you've really got to understand the value of relationships and the importance of them within the business environment. Talking about people. So when I talk about people, it's so important. The highest level is your word. What you say to people, you must deliver on. If I can't deal with you on a handshake level, the fact that we recorded on an agreement and we sign it is secondary. If I can't deal with you on a handshake basis, it means that I don't trust you and you can't trust me. Then we've got a disconnect. Obviously, pieces of paper are there to protect us and make sure that everything, if God forbid a problem happens, you've got recourse or some documentation to fall back on. But my principle's always been, if I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And it's something that counts majorly inside of pretty much any business. And I like examples because I like to bring things from theory to the real world. And I'll give you a simple one. Let's talk about a plumber. I don't know if there's any guys in here with a plumbing business or electrician business, but we've all had it. Plumber comes out, electrician comes out, they do their graft. Once they've done it, you get back in the afternoon. If you've been working all day, you get back, it's now after hours, whatever they've done for you, it's fallen through, it hasn't worked out. If you phone these guys and you say like, this is what's gone on, it's not working. If they come through and their word is good and they actually say, you know what, I messed up, but let me fix it. And they come out and they actually take charge of what's happened, odds are you'll always go back to them because you know you can rely on them and you know you can trust them. So very, very big is your word. And potentially your word is so important that when you mess up, it's more important than anything else. Not that I'm suggesting you mess up, but when you fix a mistake, people really look at it and they say, you know what, this guy came through, he fixed his mistake, he was honest about it, check, now I can work with him because I trust him. And the third thing, I suppose I could talk about this all day, but I'll keep it nice and tight. A customer. So what's the value of a customer? So again, business not done by businesses, done by people. So the value of a customer is much greater than a transaction. And I'll give you an example of a story that happened to myself and my wife. We send our dogs to the local dog parlor not far from our house. The dog parlor got in touch with us to say, you haven't paid your bill. So, and obviously having Nagging Panda, I found it quite interesting, but they said we hadn't paid our bills. I said, I'm sorry about that, but we'll fix it. They said, no, if you haven't paid your bill in 5 minutes, don't bother bringing your dogs back. So we said, but hang on, we've never not paid you. Why would we not pay you now? And I'm paying you in advance for the month. So you haven't even done the service. It's not like I owe you for service. But what it actually turned out to have happened was the person on the phone was having a bad day, had been shouted at by the owner of the dog parlor, was very upset, picked up the phone and had a screaming go at my wife, and I got the feedback. Immediately, what you see is the value of a customer. Because now I say to them, guys, I've been coming to you for 2 years. I bring you 4 dogs. If I stop coming, we stop buying things for you. Think about the value of what you've just done. So why don't you readdress this? Let's look at it properly, unpack it, calm down. We'll pay you, like I'm saying, we're paying you in advance anyway, relax. The value of the customer, when I broke it down to them, was into tens and tens of thousands of rands over time. And because they were quite quick to react and quite brash, they forgot the value of the customer. So you've got to see it for greater than what it is, especially when things get quite hot-headed. And you've got to always remember, it's not to say the customer's always right, because if somebody hasn't paid you, they haven't paid you. But it's to say, always remember the bigger picture and look at the value of a customer and how hard you work to get your customer. And then approach it from that perspective, and you're probably on better footing. So I'll leave it there for the business is done by people.
Yeah, Elan, I'm going to continue with people, but I want to add two things to that. I have a saying that if you have integrity, nothing else matters. And if you don't have integrity, nothing else matters. It also reminds me of another quick story. I did a roadshow, and one of my stoppings was in a little coffee shop in Simonstown in the Cape. And as I walked in the door, the young man, he was a student. He must be about 19 years old. He says, "Sir, today I'm going to smash all your expectations." Wow, I found that amazing. Anyway, I sat down, the menu came, he asked me what I would like, he delivered the food, the service was fast, the food was amazing, and at the end he said, "Did I smash your expectations?" Now since then, I must have told about 1,000 people about that experience, and that just adds to deliver and exceed on what you promise. So I love what you say. I've got another question on that side. I've heard you say that you find motivation in other people finding their paths, and many interesting chapters before finding yours. Tell us more.
So, like I told you before, where majority of my life was spent as a musician. Before that, I was a budding professional soccer player, played in England, tried out with Ipswich, had more drive than talent, I think, but had enough to go to the highest level. And when I look at other people, so my story just adds to the overall that inspires me. I've watched a lot of people do a lot of things, and I find that when they're doing the wrong thing, in inverted commas, it's just not the right thing for them, they meet a lot of resistance. And again, I'm using myself as an example. When I was doing my music, I was pretty good at it. I was a good singer-songwriter. I went to the highest level, recorded with the best in the world, did whatever you could think of, but there was always some sort of resistance that just didn't have an ebb and a flow to it. It was like a constant fight. I switched to business, and it just flows better. It's almost like, you start running and you get traction. It's just so much, there's more flow to what you're doing. There's give and there's take, there's push and pull. And that capability and that ability to flow with something shows you on the right path, and then the success comes. And I've seen people go from small business to billionaire because they shift course and they go, right, this is my path and I know how to go get it, and I can see my direction. And even though they're hurdles, I can jump over these ones, where the other ones are like running into brick walls. And it seems to be consistent that when I watch people move their lives and transition and find that ability to be flexible and get into the right groove, everything just changes. It's not to say that it's easy. It's to say that the ability to jump the hurdles is there. And I find it a very fascinating thing, and it motivates me every day to say, close the door, another will open. Experience your life, because if you don't try, you'll never know, and then you'll have regret. But if you do try and you go through that door, maybe it's the right one. And I suppose that's the point to the whole thing, and that's where the motivation comes from.
Absolutely. Now, well said, Elan. Now, Elan, you say you learn from very wealthy people, that business is a game, and there's normally two pockets of money with wealthy people, or maybe all people. That's interesting. Tell us more on that. So,
when people do something right, it's always important to listen to them. And when people do something wrong, it's always important to listen to them. And I always tell people, remember when your folks told you, don't touch the stove, it's hot, but you had to go touch it anyway. One of the best things I could tell you when it comes to money is if somebody tells you that stove's hot, you don't have to touch it yourself. You don't have to go lose your own money because you didn't want to listen. Losing money is a great way to learn because you're going to remember. But if you listen and you learn from both other people's wins and losses, you're very far ahead. Now, let's touch on why I say very wealthy people. So if you understand business as a game, and that's the way they see it, So business is a game. I have a semi-mentor that explained it like this. He said, when he sets up a project, he goes and he sets up the pieces, the strategies, who's in his team, how he wants to tackle the industry, how he wants to enter, how he wants to market, and how he wants to exit. And what the guys figured out is that the push and the pull and the movement left and right is part of the game. But the wealthier people have the ability to see it from a bird's eye, from the top looking down, the bird's eye view, because they're not on the field all the time themselves. They're actually able to remove themselves. Where if you're kind of working day to day, month to month, trying to figure out how to make sure you get through the rest of the year, it's very hard to remove yourself from the actual fight or the actual game and put yourself up to look at it from a strategic level. So I call it almost it's like a very privileged vantage point where you don't have to do everything. You don't have to take every deal. You have the ability to relax, breathe, look at it very carefully, analyze it for yourself. You don't have to take 4 years to make a decision, but at least you don't have to take the decision from a pressured point of view. So when I watch these guys and watch them work and watch how they think and go after the deals that they want to do, they're looking at them not from a I need to make money point of view. They're looking at it from I want to make, like they want to work. This is what they do. The money is secondary, and it's almost like for winning the game, they get a monetary reward. But because their school fees are covered and their rent and their water and their lights and all that, they don't need to worry about it. They've got that ability to say, you know what, is this game for me or is that game for me? How do I want to play? How do I want to approach? And that ability, I think, stands them in very good stead because they have the ability to engage the way they want to without the pressure. Not that let's take a mining company. I know somebody very successful in mining, very strategic about it, not pressured for money, doesn't need to worry about money, but under pressure to do good business. So it's a very different thing to want to succeed versus having to do it so you can live. So I call it like one's a life and death game, the other one's playing to win. It's just they slightly different, and that's what I learned from these guys. The two pockets of money I'll touch on. I met a guy who showed this to me more than I could ever explain. Billionaire. Would go into a casino, could bet $1 million a hand. Didn't matter. Win, lose, doesn't matter. It was just fun. And it was what he did almost to entertain himself. Obviously enjoyed winning more than losing. Ask him for $1 in your business. Not a chance. You've got to sit with him. There's a whole lot of differences. If you want to go somewhere, he says, you know what, come with me. I'll fly you in my private jet. I'll put you up for 2 weeks. It doesn't matter. The monetary value for entertaining you and spoiling you and having fun with you comes from one pocket. If you said to him, take 1/10 of what he spent in the casino and, you know, have a gamble with you in a business, it's a completely different pocket and you can't touch it. It's not available, even though it's the same amount of money. They see it differently, they treat it differently, and the game becomes different for them. So they're going, no, now you've entered this game. If you want to go into that game, there's a whole new set of rules, and I might not even be interested in. But if you want to go this side, no problem. Money doesn't matter. And I find their approach to how the whole thing works to be very interesting and motivating because it shows you that with surplus, you've got the ability to differentiate.
Yeah, Elan, I always say, if you go for the money, you'll never get there. And I think that's exactly, the accumulation of money is the result of what you do well. And the topic, we can talk about this all day, Elan. So, but I want to move on to the next pillar. Next pillar, let's move to the marketing pillar. How do you market? How do you market?
So, okay, what I'll do again, I like the reference because learning life yourself is the best way. But in today's world, if you look at what we've got, so we've got a whole lot of landscape. I mean, I'm not just talking about Google or Facebook or a billboard. I'm saying you've got to be where your customer is. But nowadays, your customer's everywhere. From our phone, from our computer, from your TV, you could be looking at a whole bunch of different places, a whole bunch of different e-commerce shops, a whole bunch of different adverts. Your customer's looking at a million things all over the show. You've got to figure out how to be where your customer is and deliver them what they want. So if you drill it down, you've got to be on Facebook, on Google, on YouTube, on the billboard down the road, on the local radio station, in the magazine, on the newspaper. How do you cover everything? Now, I go back again, just touching on my music career because it always reminds me of this in a good way. when I started, I'm giving away my age. When I started, if you were on radio or TV, you were famous. Like when I was in school, I was on radio and TV, and I was like, they knew me. People knew who I was because I was on radio. There wasn't 100 radio stations to listen to. There was just a few big ones. So if you were on it, people heard it. But now with the dilution that's happened because of all the different entrants into all the different sectors, you get lost so quickly. So you've got to have the ability to be consistent, stay with what you're doing, and figure out the way, and the way I call it is to throw stones into the water to create a big wave that will grow and grow and grow, as opposed to dropping one big rock, which will hit, make a splash, go to the bottom, and no one will ever feel the ripple because it will just never reach them. So the lesson is to stay as consistent as you can with your message, keep at it, try and be in all the right places to reach your customer and give them what they want. But there's two other parts to it. One, you have to learn to convey your message as simply as possible. So basically the opposite is what I'm doing right now. But the key is to say in as few words as you can what it is that you offer, how it is that you solve your person's problem, and don't be scared to refine it. Because refining, reiterating, moving, and adjusting with what you're getting feedback from your audience, from your customer, is the key to delivering your message correctly. Once you've done that, if you've really fine-tuned your message so that you're in a place where you believe that you've said it the best way you can, and they're still not responding, you're in the wrong room. So you've got to figure out, is this the right room for me? Because I'm saying this is what I'm selling. To you, it's valuable. To you, it's not valuable. If I'm in the room where it's not valuable, I need to go find the other room. So there's also a crafting where you're saying, cool, I've got my message, I've got everything right. I know I'm selling something that people need. It is solving a problem, but I'm offering it to the wrong person. Let me switch to the right guy. So go and target correctly. Know your customer. So that's in a nutshell how you market.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a big word. Again, we could talk about that for some time, but that leads us. Let's talk about the third pillar. Let's
Yes.
move to the scale pillar. Now, what do you see as scale for a business?
So scale for different businesses can mean different things. So I've met people who don't want to scale. I've sat with people who say that scale is too difficult, and their concern with scale is that they'd be working all day for the rest of their lives trying to do something, and they'd never enjoy their life because they're just trying to grow. I see scales differently. I see scale as saying, build yourself a business, don't build yourself a job. And there's lots of books and lots of people out there that are saying these things, but it's actually putting them into practice that becomes the challenge. So think of a business run by a sole proprietor who's running an IT business or something where he's coming around to your house and fixing your Wi-Fi or whatever it is. If at the end of that journey, 10 years later, he says, okay, now I want to stop, but I haven't built up enough of a piggy bank so that I can stop working. And if I stop working, there's no more income. He built a base of customers, but it's effectively a job because he has to keep working. If you find scale is that ability to create efficiency and grow without yourself having to be in the business hands-on. Obviously, ideal to have annuity forever or the ability to exit at some point where you've built a business that you can sell. But it's not for everybody. It's not for everything. And I'm not saying that you have to build the next Uber or the next Airbnb. We'd all love to do that potentially, but it's not something where you have to have 1 million customers. Take a gold mine, for example. A gold mine has a deposit of gold. That there's only so much gold in there, but they can sell it for a whole lot of money. So their scale sits there in the ability to make money. But from our perspective, and particularly for mine with something like TechZoo, I can give you an example of what scale would mean to us. So we would need to be able to add integrations, and we'd need to move into multiple territories. And as we did that, we would need more people to be able to handle the customer support and the demonstrations that we would have to do in order to deal with the demand that we're going to create. If we don't put those things in, we'd go into the territory and we'd fall over because we don't have the efficiency. But if we do it, it means that I can step back, look at what we've created, potentially look for another step if we ever wanted to exit. But more importantly is that it can grow without me having to be hands-on and just being able to provide ideas, insights, and direction. And those things are very important for scale and what it does for your life as you progress. Unless, like I say, let's lean back to the example of the guys who want to work for the sake of working in the game, saying, if you can get to that point, you've scaled well. If you get later on and you're saying, I actually still have to work to survive, scale didn't work there. So you needed to look at the efficiency of what was done and how it got there. And again, you can go and look to what other people have done, how they scaled and how they grew their businesses for motivation for yourself. And we do it often. And for TechZoo, we want 1 million customers. I want to be able to scale into as many territories as I can and provide the same level of service everywhere we go without dropping the ball, which requires the ultimate in efficiency.
Absolutely. Now let's move to the fourth and final pillar, execution. In our previous discussion, you said the power of an idea, but the marvel of execution.
Yes. So, all right. I'm a big fan of innovation and entrepreneurship, or just the ability to move things forward. I'm a massive fan. For example, what we're doing right now, I love what you guys are doing. It's innovative. You turned things around when you needed to during COVID. You've created this brilliant environment for people to connect. It's innovative. The hardest part about this is actually execution. So lots of people have great ideas. I mean, how many ideas have people come to you and said, wouldn't that be a great idea? Wouldn't this be a great idea? But how many of them actually managed to get it through? How many people thought about creating a connecting business like the NSBC, but how many people did it? How many people said we should actually create an automated function with a built-in debt collector like Nagging Panda, but how many did it? The actual task of executing something is so difficult and requires so much that it's very hard to do. And that's why it's a marvel of execution. Think about how many people go into executing an idea, not just the entrepreneur. No man's an island, right? So the team required to get this off the ground, the belief of investors in what you're talking about, the ability to do it, to market, to sell, to get it off is a brilliant thing. Now, underneath that, I talk about two other things. One, have a thick skin, because not everyone's going to like your idea. Not everyone's going to like what you say. It's basically impossible. You don't need everyone to like what you're saying or what you're offering. Not everything is for everyone, but you just need enough of a market that you've created yourself a runway and an opportunity. And the last thing that I talk about is competition is healthy. So if you want to go into an environment where you're playing where other people are already playing, that's okay. Why should there only be one or two? Why should it be that one person gets to control everything? And we were at a roadshow recently, and I'll tell you the story. I think you guys will enjoy this. I was talking to an accounting company. I won't say which one, obviously, but I was talking to a guy who owned an accounting company. And I said to him, I got to tell you about Nagging Panda because I think it's really a great thing, and I'd love to bring you on board as a partner and show you what it's about and see if we could do something together. How exciting. And he kind of looked at me and he said, okay, another one. So I said, all right. He said, okay, give me the elevator pitch. And I did. I love the challenge. So I gave him the elevator pitch. And after that, he said, okay, cool. But I've seen one or two things that aren't exactly the same, but they're fairly similar. And I said to him, but hang on, I'm standing in a room with 1,000 people who do exactly what you do, and there's only one of me. So how come you're saying to me that I've got maybe one or two other competitors when we're standing in a room full of your competitors? Why would you go to a doctor's conference? We can't only have one doctor. So for when you've got an idea, if you can create something that's a bit different, if you can create something that gives you a little bit of a selling factor, slightly different to what the other guys are doing, then go do it. You don't need to make sure that you're the only one in the world that can do what you're saying. Competition's healthy because it will actually push everybody who's in that environment to be better, to push further, and to offer the greatest value at the lowest cost to the user. And that's what it's all about. So that's where I talk about ideas and the things that drive me through with them.
Now, Elan, before I let you go, and after that, of course, we'll move into some power networking in a virtual space. I've got to ask you, when I met up with you a few weeks back for the first time, I was incredibly enthusiastic about what you do. And I have to ask you, Nagging Panda, tell me a bit about Nagging Panda, and please tell our attendees here this morning, what does it do for SMEs out there? And thirdly, how can they get in touch with you? That would be important.
Sure. Okay, cool. I'm going to go backwards because I remember the questions easier that way. So first of all, just to get in touch with us, we've got our website. It's the easiest place to get in touch. Book a demo, start a free trial. We're a big believer in giving value. So if you sign up for Nagging Panda, it's a 45-day free trial. No credit card required. It's not a trick. We're not asking you for anything. We're not hiding. You can go try it out absolutely for free. But if you need to, well, we encourage you rather than if you need to, book a demo with us. We want to show you the whole thing. We love talking about it. So come and see. naggingpanda.com. I think we've got a pitch deck that we've made available. If not, I'll make sure that we send it to you and we can send it to everyone as well, just as additional. But we've also got LinkedIn, Facebook, all of the channels. You can get in touch and add me on your LinkedIn. It's great to connect with people. Let me tell you a little bit about Nagging Panda. So we're out there to solve three major problems that businesses are dealing with, all impacting on cash flow. So, and I know a lot of the guys in this chat now are SME based, so this might ring a bell for a lot of people here. One, businesses are paid late or they go unpaid. It's so obvious that it's super obvious because everyone deals with it, but you need some way to deal with it automatically without taking up your time. The second thing is that businesses work so hard to generate quotes for customers, to get a customer, generate the quote for the customer, but then following up on the quote is so time consuming and so hard that businesses aren't doing it. They're actually leaving the quote out there, waiting for the customer to come back. And we're saying, hang on, if I can chase for your payment on your invoice, why can't I just apply the same thing to your quote? So that's what we've done. And the third is that we've said, businesses are writing off too much money too quickly because they can't find help to collect it. Now, if I unpack that a little bit, it makes sense. If you're a big debt collector, I'm talking about the top class guys, not the guys with baseball bats. So if you're a top class collector, you want to deal with the bigger volumes of debt because you've got a runway. So for them, they sign up a customer who's going to have debt carried into the future. This is where they want to play. If you're a plumber, an electrician, a dog parlor, a small business with a small amount of debt and not a consistent flow of debt, it's not exciting to them. So we built the debt collectors into Nagging Panda and aggregate the debt so there's a consistent runway, and the dog parlor can be treated just like if it were the big corporate who's got the runway of debt. So now we can provide you built in to your Nagging Panda solution. You can say X number of days after the due date, if it's still not paid, send it to the debt collector, and the guys are ready and waiting to help you as if you were Vodacom, the big boy. And it's really what we're trying to bring about, is that ability to help small, medium, and large businesses, everyone, to say, this is what we can do for you. We've got two modes inside of Nagging Panda. We've got a creator mode and an integrator. So if your business uses QuickBooks or Sage or Xero, we're integrated to them, and you just add Nagging Panda. It takes about 30 seconds, depending on how many invoices you've got or quotes you've got on your software side. We pull it into Nagging Panda, you set up, and Nagging Panda goes and nags for you. On our creator side, we've got, that's for if you don't have accounting software, you can actually create your invoices, quotes, credit note statements, accounts receivable with us, and then add Nagging Panda. Now, just touching on it quick, but the things that really stand out for Nagging Panda are that you get to nag and remind in your own tone. So you set up the smart messages with our smart message templates. You put in the name. So like you could say, dear customer first name, and we'll pull it out. So it says, dear Mike. You can personalize it as much as you want, and it's unlimited. So you tell Nagging Panda before the due date, this is what I want you to do. You could send 10 emails a day, 100 SMSs a day, 1, 3, whatever it is. It's up to you. We obviously recommend that you don't go nuts and drive your customer insane, but you can, it's unlimited. It works on SMS and email. It works on before, on, and after the due date with the built-in debt collector as well. And it really is a comprehensive solution because we've also got a pay button. So we are launching other products down the line, which is our own pay button and our own innovations around it. But on Nagging Panda, you put on the pay button. And inside of all of your nagging and reminding, people can actually just click to pay and off they go. So we try our best to keep your cash flow coming in as easy as possible, saving you time while generating you more revenue because it's invoice and quotes. And that's pretty much what Nagging Panda does.
Yeah, Elan, amazing solution, solving an incredible problem out there. You know, we have a big initiative, the prompt payment code, powered by the national media. And it's all about mobilizing big business and government to pay SMEs within 30 days. And we've got to get rid of the big business bullies out there who are not paying their SME suppliers, because people don't understand. When a small business goes out of business, a family goes out of business. So we at the NSBC, alongside the national media, are not going to tolerate these big business bullies anymore. We're going to name and shame, and we're going to solve this problem, because we cannot see. I mean, we know of SMEs in our member base. We've done an amazing job. They're still waiting 2 years later for that invoice to be paid. It's just completely unacceptable.
It's so no good at all. That and the truth is that there's no need for it in a sense, because if the guys have got the money, they've got the cash flow. It's not that they're out on the street with no money. It's just it's nonsensical and it's not helping anyone. So if we all play, and obviously it's in an ideal world, and we can't always be in an ideal environment, but if everyone worked together to make these things happen at the right time, it helps everybody. So one of our earlier mottos was to say, Nagging Panda's here so that people don't go without. So we always want to, because exactly like you're touching on, and again, it comes back to people. If you don't pay people, where are they going to get their money from?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, you know, me individually, personally, I'm truly excited and passionate about what you do.
Thank you.
There's a big gap in the market, and well done to you. Elan Lea, I must say, from TechZoo Corporation, you're an inspiration. You're an amazing entrepreneur. You're a hang of a nice guy. You know, I often talk to people when I do my talks, one of the biggest reasons why someone will do business with you is because they like you. And you're one of those guys, Elan. So, and I also extend my big thanks to you for becoming a national partner of the NSBC. It also points in the direction of you really want to help SMEs out there, and you're passionate in that market, and you believe in that market. So, Elan, it's been an absolute pleasure engaging with you. I know it's not the first time. We're going to do this many more times.
I look forward to all of them.
And take good care of yourself.
Thank you
again for joining us. You can go off your now and have a great day and weekend, Elan.
Thanks. Ciao, everybody. Thank you very much.
Cool. And Leanne, you're welcome to join me. Guys, wasn't that amazing? What a nice person. Huge inspiration. Leanne, it was amazing. Eh? What a nice guy.
Mike, I don't know, but the time just seemed to fly. I could have listened to him for another hour. I love the analogies, the real life stories, and the incredible insights. And I know that all our attendees really benefited. Just so that you're aware, everyone, we are recording the session. So everyone who registered will receive a link to the replay. I think it is definitely worth reviewing, making notes, and implementing a lot of the advice that Elan actually gave us.
Yeah, and you know, I don't promote people that often, or companies that often, these platforms aren't designed for promotion. It's designed for inspiration, education. But you know, for me, they fill a massive, important gap in the marketplace, Nagging Panda. So it's worthwhile taking a look. But Leanne, I know now comes to an exciting part of the morning, networking in the virtual space. Please tell us a little bit about it from a technical side and from any side.
Okay, yes. This is what makes this morning's event so exciting. There aren't many platforms out there that allow this kind of level of free networking. And let me encourage you, I know you are busy business owners. There are probably 1,000 things to do on your to-do lists, but networking, we have seen building relationships, working with people, as Elan mentioned, and Mike has said before, is absolutely valuable. So this is an investment in your business. So I would encourage you, please hang around for this next little bit of time. You never know who you're going to meet. You don't know what relationships will form, and you don't know what business is lying ahead for you. If you do take this morning and invest that time into yourself and into your business. From a technical point of view, those of you, let's see in the chat, are there any newbies out there? For those who have been on this platform, please give your advice to all that are new in the chat. Give them your top tip while I explain some of the technical things. As soon as this presentation ends, we will go back to the floor plan. On the floor plan, you will see that there are a variety of tables. There are big seaters, the lounges at the top that can have up to 5 to 6 people. Then we've got 4-seater tables, and we have 2-seater tables. You can use this based on your comfort level. So introverts out there, you might prefer chatting with a smaller group and really spending time with someone. Those who enjoy lots of people, want to meet as many people as possible this morning, you might want to go to the bigger tables. Simply double click on a table and you will move your avatar or your little profile picture there. Also remember that there are many floors. So on the left of your screen, you will see numbers that look a little bit like a calculator. Click on a number to jump to a different floor. There are also people there. So that's something people do forget. If you want to see who is on the floor, you can be quite strategic about it. And you can click on the profile images. See if there's someone from the similar industry to you or an industry that you would like to meet someone in. Click on the circles on the floor plan, and then you could possibly jump to that table and have a conversation with that person. And then just in terms of what's ahead, Mike, we are implementing the shuffle feature on this platform. So how we like to start it to kind of break the ice is you will go back to your tables. And after 15 minutes, where you've introduced yourself, got to know the people at your table, you will see a countdown, a 30-second countdown, and then you will then be shuffled to a different table automatically, randomly. This is just to keep it fresh and exciting. We will do this twice, and then after that, you are free to move around and network as you please on the floor. But before we go, Mike, can you give us some networking tips? What have you found in all your years of business? What is the most effective way to network, whether in person or in this on the digital platform?
Yeah, Leah, this is very similar to the traditional physical networking. Importantly, a few key points is be authentic, be you. And another key point is that be interested, not interesting. That's very important. And of course, this is also an important platform to think like a doctor. Take people's pain away. Help people. Stop talking and start listening. And don't use this as a selling platform. Use it as building relationships, rekindling old relationships, building new relationships. The selling will come in time. So don't sell, listen, be authentic, be interested, not interesting, and you'll find that you'll become extremely successful on this environment.
Brilliant, Mike. Short and sweet, but absolutely correct. And I know those who have been on this platform before can definitely agree with you on that. What I would say as well is just that this is when are you ever around this many like-minded business people? There is so much that you can learn from each other. So if you're having issues in your business, why not draw from the knowledge of those at your table? If you've had experience in certain issues that people at your table are having, why not share that knowledge? In helping each other, we are really, that is the best way to build relationships, like Mike said. So see it as well as a learning opportunity, as a way that you can help others. And if you meet someone that maybe isn't necessarily linked to your industry, that perhaps you can connect them with someone else. So see yourself perhaps as a bridge to small businesses succeeding all over our country. And that is it from me today. Remember, now we're going to go back to the floor. In 15 minutes, we are going to shuffle everyone. When you are at your tables, a nice icebreaker would be possibly just to start off with commenting on what Elan said, what stood out for you, and that can then get the conversation going. So that's it from me, Mike. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, just to add one thing, remember on this platform, there are potential investors, potential partners, potential customers, suppliers, strategic alliances. So move around, use the networking tips, and do something different. Thank you.
Yes. And one last thing that now that I remembered is that if someone leaves your table in the middle of a conversation, don't think they're rude. It's sometimes difficult to find a gap, or they might just need to go and get back to business as usual. And yeah, just be kind. And for the talkers out there, remember to give everyone time to speak. I am a talker myself, and like Mike said, listening is a very important skill that you can also practice on this platform. So yes, go out, have fun, and the floor will be open until 12 o'clock. If you have any comments, please share in the general chat and we will make sure that you are fine. If you need to step away, switch off your camera and your mic, and then you can always join again later before the event ends. So yes, enjoy everyone, and we'll see you on the floor.